Good morning, you wonderful lot, and a very warm welcome to the 10 o'clock news from the EV Café, brought to you this week by those lovely people at the AA, the multiple award-winning breakdown organisation, but so much more. And I'm John Curtis. Today I'm joined by our special reporters, Sam, Sarah and Paul. So get a cuppa and plug in for the latest in clean transport and sustainability news. Today we'll look at stories including London does scrappage, Newcastle's cleaning up its act, Maxus also do scrappage, GridServe accessible for all, and the MOT needs some work. We're also delighted to see one of our founder sponsors taking on the German market. The company My Energy, founded in 2016, was recently named one of the 10 fastest growing private companies in the UK, but it's also proving a success story in Germany, where it launched in 2019. Since then, Germany's become the company's most successful export market, and it's opened a new subsidiary there targeting German-speaking markets based in Munich, and with a second office in Cologne. It's headed by Philipp Hauser as managing director. Hauser worked previously for BMW and held numerous senior positions in international sales and business development with companies such as Kuehne+Nagel, Maersk and Govex. Now then, more on our top stories. Oh, before we start with our top stories, tell us who you are and where you are. In the comment box, Leah, good morning, happy Friday. Chris Griffin, thank you for coming back. You always do, you're a good man. And Simon Acton, always great to see you. Who else have we got online? Anyway, scrappage. For those in London, a £110 million scrappage scheme has been launched ahead of the expansion of London's ultra-low emission zone. The fund is accessible to low-income and disabled Londoners, but sadly, the vast majority of fleets will miss out. Transport for London says that the scrappage scheme is open to charities, sole traders and businesses with 10 or fewer employees registered in London. They can apply for a £5,000 grant to scrap a van or £7,000 for a minibus, with a £5,000 grant also available to retrofit certain vans or minibuses. Grants to scrap and replace a van or minibus with a fully electric vehicle are set at £7,500 and £9,500 respectively. In launching the ultra-low emission zone scrappage scheme, TfL has also hiked the penalty charge notice from January the 30th for non-compliant vehicles entering the zone from 160 to 190 quid, reduced to £90 if you pay it within 14 days. Better option, get an electric vehicle. TfL says the increase will maintain the deterrent effect of London's ultra-low emission zone and achieve the scheme's air quality and health objectives. Now, Paul and I were in London City for the first couple of days of the week, last week, weren't we, Paul? Or this week, rather. And the reduction in traffic from those days gone by and seeing cleaner vehicles is stark.
It's a huge difference, and what I always note is, of course, that the majority of vehicles now in the centre of London are vans, doing jobs, getting parcels from A to B, cleaning the streets, doing whatever. But the activity is immense. I'm interested in this TfL approach, for businesses of micro businesses, the 10 or less, because that is an area of the market that I think has been missing. I think it's really important to stimulate the growth at that smaller end of the market. I know big fleets maybe are not getting the money, but at the moment, I think it's harder for big fleets. And I think to really grow. But I think it's great that the smaller business owners are being targeted.
Yeah, this makes me really happy, learning from mistakes from other clean air zones where people who are on the smaller side of the business end were missing out on the grants, number one. So that's been ticked. That's fantastic. But also being penalised for going into the city centres if you are driving an older polluting vehicle. And actually, it's very difficult for you to be able to afford to swap that out. So it felt like a double whammy. I was speaking to electricians in Bath who said, well, I just simply can't work here unless my clients are happy to pay an extra 50 quid for me to travel in and have to pay the fines because I cannot change this vehicle. So a scheme like this has really helped that smaller business. I'm really pleased to see it. I think it's a really good shout.
The other bit for me is that those who are perhaps more challenged with transport, disabilities, accessibility issues and so on, also qualifying for the funding. And it's really important that we just don't leave anybody behind in this transition and it doesn't become those who can afford to do it and everybody else just gets left behind. Now then, how we're the dirties. Non-compliant taxis, buses, coaches and HGVs now face charges to drive into Newcastle's clean air zone from this Monday. Non-compliant buses, coaches and HGVs will be charged £50 per day, while non-compliant taxi and private hire vehicles will be charged £12.50 a day. Cars are not affected by the clean air zone and do not have to pay any charges. Non-compliant vans will have to pay £12.50 a day, but not until July. Now, this is the interesting bit. These charges have been delayed due to national vehicle supply chain issues that are making it difficult for owners and small businesses to obtain compliant vehicles. If you think that clean air zones aren't coming to your world and you live in a town or city, think again. 772 geographical authorities, local authorities, councils, etc., have air quality management areas, and clean air zones, low emission zones are one of the tools they have to use to improve air quality. Sam, Chief Vehicle Officer at GridServe, vehicle availability, is it still an issue?
It's definitely getting better, John. It's definitely getting better. And I think things like the initiative in Newcastle is brilliant. And as you say, we need it across the whole country. I think the lead time and the run-in is the most important thing for these cities to understand how much time they've got available. And it's interesting also, I think, to learn from what London's done. And hopefully learn lessons, positive and negative. But it's critical what the run-in time is for these legislations to come into effect, and indeed what the supply issues are, if there are any. But it's definitely getting better. The release of stock is coming through now. So in many ways, I think we're over the worst of it. I'd like to think when it comes to electricity prices and supply issues and semiconductor issues and wiring looms, all that kind of stuff. Yes, we've still got lots of restrictions in places, but my gut feeling is that it's easing. And I hope I'm right, but it feels that way for sure.
Brilliant. Green shoots of recovery. Now then, Maxus, vans, Paul. Wakey, vans, my friend. Not just any vans, but Maxus vans. Maxus is offering drivers the opportunity to switch to electric and save up to $14,000 on a new zero-emission Maxus vehicle, complete with a free home or workplace charger. Now then, if you add that to the scrappage scheme which is going on in London, it strikes me that now is the time to be making the change if you run a small fleet in London, 10 or less employees, 14,000 from Maxus up to 9,500 in London. Suddenly, the total cost of ownership of electric vehicles has changed dramatically in the van sector, Paul. You must be absolutely beside yourself.
Do you know what? It is really exciting, and what Maxus have done is great news. Iveco are also supporting the scrappage scheme with additional money, and also we're looking at vans that could be going on the road for less than £15,000 for an electric van. When all of those things are considered, and that is really good news, and it gives small businesses the really first real opportunity to go, actually, do you know what? I could probably do that and go for it and get that good experience. But yeah, well done to a number of manufacturers, kind of working in supporting, but it's big ticket stuff from Maxus. Well done.
Good stuff. Now then, GridServe. Wakey, Sam. GridServe in the news. Before we start all that stuff, let's go with a few people. Sarah Kennell, Michael Anderson, Whitney Stewart. Now, I can't read it because my script's in the way, but anyway, Whitney, bless you. Peter Widdowson, Mark Smith, Elizabeth, Phil Not Hard, Caroline, Daryl Sharp. Oh, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of viewers. Bless your hearts, all of you. Now then, Sam, GridServe. GridServe has launched fuel service assistance at electric forecourts with the inclusion of electric forecourts on the fuel service app. What does that mean? Well, the fuel service app allows disabled drivers to find and receive assistance for recharging their cars. The assistance will be available at both Braintree and Norwich electric forecourts. GridServe said electric forecourt designs including disabled parking, access ramps and accessible washrooms, lifts to access all areas and braille throughout the interior of the building. Toddington Harper, the man himself, said accessibility is key to ensuring that the transition to electric is inclusive for all. Now then, is there a theme coming here? We're beginning to realise that those who can't access are being given access, that small businesses need help to transition. And there's no apology for these stories overlapping, because this is where the movement's happening. For the legacy equipment in other networks, ChargeSafe, led by Kate Tyrrell, offers brilliant objective assessment of accessibility. Transport for All, Sarah, it has to be right, surely.
Well, I'm just so glad that GridServe's going to do it right, because others have it. They've had it for a long time. But for me, I couldn't even read the sticker. The sticker was up high, thought it was as high as 6 foot, that said, if you need support, ring this number. And if you're already shorter than me because you're having to sit down in a wheelchair or just got out your car, you're not going to be able to do that. And there was a curb in the way as well. So there's no way in hell anybody that needed support was going to be able to get it. So that was a tick box exercise. Massive kudos to Kate Tyrrell for raising awareness around this, and Motability Operations, Jonathan Jenkins as well. But GridServe, once again, putting your money where your mouth is and showing us how it's done. Good work.
Brilliant. Other comments, Paul, Sam?
Well, you know what? I was waiting for Sam to jump in, but I do think it is really important that we make that difference. Because the curbs and all of the other bits and pieces that make it difficult for people to access the charge points. I think it's great that we're kind of going back old school, aren't we? In employing real people to help. And that makes a tremendous difference.
It does only work at the forecourts, though. I do often say this, you are the panacea. That is the wonderful situation. That's 2 locations in the UK. But I know that you guys have also, as have other CPOs, adopted a lot of the principles. So that's also great progress.
Yeah, I think the motorways, will need thought in time, because it's not always easy to navigate the charge points at the motorway service stations, and I wouldn't want to be having to navigate it in a wheelchair. But it's great. Progress, that's what we want.
Sam, thoughts from you from GridServe?
Not much to add, really, is there? I mean, the guys have said it all, and I mean, obviously I represent GridServe, but I'm as Sarah said, I'm continually proud of what we achieved, because we seem to be able to raise the bar in every single area. And I'm biased, but I don't care. It is a phenomenal business that is showing everybody the best way to go, and even the new hubs that we've built we put God knows how many new hubs in this year already, and they are all with no curbs, with sufficient meterage between the bump stops. The screens are lower, the cables are on pulleys. If you're mobility impaired in any way, you can charge, and you can do it accessibility wise very, very well. And we've also got huge bays as well to make sure that we're catered for space. So, in some respects, we've had to change a legacy system when we acquired the electric highway, and that was hard. But everything that goes in that's new as well, is setting the standard, and I'm immensely proud of it.
So you should be. Now then, one takeaway for me from today is Paul Kirby, when he said, "Curbs make it difficult." You certainly do. MOTs need to be fit for purpose. The Department for Transport has this week launched a public consultation on the future of MOTs in Great Britain. Views are being sought to update MOT testing for cars, motorbikes and vans to ensure roadworthiness checks continue to balance costs on motorists whilst ensuring road safety, keeping up with advances in vehicle technology and tackling vehicle emissions. To ensure MOTs remain fit for the future, the consultation, launched today, is seeking views on proposals to change the date at which the first MOT on new light vehicles is required from 3 to 4 years. The average MOT costs £40, and the move could save motorists across Great Britain around 100 million a year in MOT fees. Among the proposals, the consultation will consider whether electric vehicle batteries should be tested to improve the safety and reliability of EVs. That is without doubt. Hopefully somebody will be able to put in the chat box the link that was in the script, Paul or Sam or Sarah, for the government consultation. If not, just look up MOT consultation on the DFT website and you will find it. It's important that vehicles are fit to be on the roads. Personally, I just wish the government could see that conversely, roads have to be fit for vehicles. Anyway, Paul, MOTs, vans, really important.
And do you know what? It's surprising and possibly frightening the amount of vans that I know about that do fail on their first presentation at 3 years. So, it's around 40%, or it was. And that's significant. So my personal feeling is, and I appreciate the cost of doing these things. But my personal feeling is that until we can start seeing that come down, I think we should still continue with focusing on being safe.
Yeah. Sarah, you're recently into the bike world. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think it's healthy. I know a lot of people that literally cannot be bothered to get their MOT, and it only affects them when they try to renew their insurance or something where you have to prove that you've got it. Or people who, as you say, habitually only buy cars every 3 years to even avoid having the MOT. It strikes me a bit like we all know we should go to the dentist, but actually that year comes around really quickly. And I think what's exciting is that cars are so intelligent now, you should be able to set some kind of reminder, push a notification on your phone or something that reminds you that your MOT is due, because it is a legal offence to not have one, of course.
Can I just congratulate James Peacock, who's currently getting his MOT done right this second. Talk about being on the money. Sam, what do you think? Because obviously you're putting through a lot of vehicles on lease and they're coming back presumably within the 3 years. If it moves to 4 years, does that help those running fleets?
Yes, I think it will. And I think also the point I was going to make, which the guys haven't mentioned yet, is the vehicle battery element, which I think is important, because in the days of old, the age of your fuel tank was irrelevant, obviously, because it was just a component of the car. Whereas in the new world of batteries, that equivalent fuel tank is an important integral part of the vehicle and may indeed have a different value or intrinsic value depending on how the vehicle is used. So there's something else that we're doing in the background is looking at that battery element in isolation in terms of understanding not just its battery health, but how that materially affects the residual values of vehicles over time. Because if you have a 3 or 4 year old vehicle, but it's got a new set of batteries for some reason, or a new cell or whatever, then how does that change the residual value of that vehicle? So it's going to be a complicated element, and I think MOT assessments is probably a good way of being able to keep abreast of the technology that is the battery, perhaps in some respects separate to the vehicle itself, which hopefully in time will help better calculations of residual values and ultimately help the second-hand market. So I think it's important that we start to look at things in a different way so that MOTs are reflective of EVs for the first time.
Absolutely. Just picking up something that Ian Kerr has said in the chat. Blatant Paul Kirby promotions. One of the only ones he's ever had. Paul is my guest on the Postal Hub podcast on Monday. So tune in there if you can't get enough curbs. Now I thought Sam was going to say something, but he was merely playing with his locks. If you have any clean transport PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from them. This has been an EV Cafe production brought to you this week by the AA, because yellow is for superheroes. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just fun. Timing, people, timing.
I really tried.
The EV Cafe News is regulated by Big Stuart Interval, Sparky from My Energy, Tucker from the AA, installed by EV Civils, monitored by Geotab, and insured by Churchill Insurance. We are the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to clean transport. Until next Friday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, Paul, you can talk now.
That was fun.